Добър ден! Казвам се Данил Христов и съм докторант в Университета в Нова Горица в Словения. Подготвил съм презентация на английски език за анализ с правила на променливото Я-Е и минало несвършено време. Ако имате въпроси, може да ги задавате на български език или на английски език. The variable Ya-E is special alternation in standard Bulgarian. It involves a variation between the sounds ya with palatalization a or e within different allomorphs. Which of these realizations will appear depends on specific types of phonological conditions. In this part, I will talk about the rules that are relevant for accounting for the Yat-alternation in Bulgarian, and also for the imperfect tense. So the first types of rules are the Yat-alternation rules, and there are two sub-rules. The first is the realization rule of the Yat-alternation. According to this rule, a Yat vowel is realized as Ya when it is stressed and when it is immediately followed by a consonant different from J, Ch, Sh, or J, contained within the onset of a following syllable whose nucleus contains a back vowel, or it is immediately followed by a back vowel in a following syllable, or it is immediately followed by a consonant different from J, Ch, Sh, or J, within the coda of the same syllable, with the syllable being either word final or followed by another syllable with a back vowel, or it is word final. On this slide, you can see the formalism of the Yat realization rule of the Yat-alternation. The other sub-rule of the Yat-alternation rules is the realization rule of the Yat-alternation. In this case, a Yat vowel is realized as E. This is the elsewhere case, and it applies always when the context of the Ya realization rule is not available. Apart from the Yat-alternation rules, we need two additional rules in order to describe the Yat-alternation: the palatalization rule and the year deletion rule. According to the palatalization rule, a consonant sound different from the sh sounds j, ch, sh, or j becomes palatalized when followed by a sequence of a y sound and a back vowel. This rule is not only limited to the context of the Yat vowel, but it's a general rule in Bulgarian. On this slide, you can see an autosegmental representation of the palatalization rule with a plus high segment of the Y sound spreading to the preceding consonant, which results in a palatalization of that consonant. The second rule is the Y deletion rule. According to this rule, a Y sound is deleted in front of a consonant sound. This rule, once again, is not just limited to the context of the Yat vowel, but it's a general rule in Bulgarian. Finally, we need one more rule in order to derive a special stem from which the imperfect tense will be generated. I will call this stem the modified present stem, since it is derived from the third person singular present tense, and the rule, the Yat replacement rule. According to the Yat replacement rule, a final front vowel in the third person singular present tense changes to a Yat vowel in order to derive the modified present stem. This rule only applies in the third person singular present tense of first and second conjugation verbs, since they end in a front vowel such as E or E. This rule does not apply in the third person singular present tense in third conjugation verbs since they end in a back vowel, A. The Yat replacement rule applies to the final front vowel in the third person singular present tense of first and second conjugation verbs, replacing it with a Yat vowel in order to derive the modified present stem. The Yat replacement rule does not apply to the third person singular present tense of third conjugation verbs since the final vowel is a back vowel and not a front vowel. As you can see from the table, in those verbs, the modified present stem is the same as the third person singular present tense. Now we'll describe the Ya with palatalization and A realizations of the Yat vowel. All of these three realizations involve an initial Ya realization. In this case, the Ya realization rule of the Yat-alternation applies, and this happens if the Yat vowel is stressed, if it's followed by a syllable with a back vowel, or by no syllable, or if it is not followed by the sounds zh, ch, or sh. The result is a Ya realization of the Yat vowel. The same initial Ya realization also happens in the imperfect tense of verbs from the first and second conjugation when their final Yat vowel is stressed. In the table you can see the stem of all forms of the imperfect tense except the second and third person singular, to which the endings of the imperfect tense are added. After the initial Ya realization of the Yat vowel, we still have to derive the final realizations of the Yat vowel. When the sound preceding the Ya sound is a vowel, no additional rules apply. The result is a final Ya realization of the Yat vowel. In the example below, you can see a verb in the imperfect tense with a Ya realization of the Yat vowel whose Ya sound is preceded by a vowel. When the sound preceding the Ya sound is a consonant, the palatalization rule applies, palatalizing this consonant preceding Ya. Next, the Ya deletion rule applies, deleting Ya. The result is a final Ya realization of the Yat vowel with palatalization. In the example, you can see words in Bulgarian with a Ya realization of the Yat vowel with palatalization, whose Ya sound is preceded by a consonant. In the example, you can see verbs in the imperfect tense with a Ya realization of the Yat vowel with palatalization, whose Ya sound is preceded by a consonant. When the sound preceding the Ya sound is one of the consonants zh, ch, or sh, the palatalization rule cannot apply. On the other hand, the Ya deletion rule applies, deleting Ya. The result is a final A realization of the Yat vowel. In the example, you can see verbs with an A realization of the Yat vowel whose A sound is preceded by the consonants either zh, ch, or sh. In all other cases with a Yat vowel, where the Ya realization rule does not apply, the Ya realization rule applies instead. This happens if the Yat vowel is not stressed, if it is followed by a syllable with a front vowel, or by the sounds zh, ch, or sh. The final result is an A realization of the Yat vowel. In the examples, you can see words with an A realization of the Yat vowel. In the example, you can see verbs in the imperfect tense with an A realization of the Yat vowel. This happens in first and second conjugation verbs where the Yat vowel is realized as A if it is unstressed regardless of the preceding sound. Now we will compare cases with and without the Yat vowel. The Yat vowel behaves as a phoneme in the language since its distribution is not predictable. The Yat-A alternation is only observed in cases that display the Yat vowel. If there is no Yat vowel in the underlying form, but rather Ya with palatalization or A, we observe no alternation regardless of whether the context favors the application of the Ya or A realization rule of the Yat vowel. The first example illustrates a word with a Yat vowel which alternates between Ya with palatalization and A, while the second and the third examples have an invariable A and Ya with palatalization respectively. Third conjugation verbs have no Yat vowel and they do not exhibit the Yat alternation. When these verbs have no underlying Y sound, they form the imperfect tense with an A realization. When these verbs have a final underlying Y sound, after the A realization for the imperfect tense, two more rules apply. The palatalization rule, which palatalizes the preceding consonant, and the Y deletion rule, which deletes the Y sound. This results in a final A realization with palatalization in the imperfect tense. The realization of the Yat vowel in the imperfect tense in first and second conjugation verbs in the first person singular form is preserved in all but the second and third person singular imperfect forms. The second and third person singular imperfect forms for first and second conjugation always have an A realization of the Yat vowel. Third conjugation verbs have no Yat vowel, and in the imperfect tense they always have an A realization or A realization with palatalization regardless of their form. Second and third person singular forms as well as other forms. The A realization in the second and third person singular of the Yat vowel is predicted since the second and third person singular have the ending she with the front vowel after the Yat vowel. A verb with a Ya realization of the Yat vowel should have an A realization in the first person plural and second person plural in perfect tense due to the following endings chme, chte with a front vowel, contrary to fact. An analysis is needed to explain those facts. The imperfect tense endings, which are not in the second or third person singular, are class 2 suffixes. These endings remain exterior to the rest of the morphological structure. The Yat-alternation rules, in this case, apply before the addition of those suffixes. The addition of these suffixes has no effect on the application of the Yat-alternation rules because the Yat-alternation rules have already applied and the suffixes remain exterior to the rest of the structure. Thus, the original realization of the Yat vowel is preserved, as can be seen from the diagram on the right. The imperfect tense ending she in the second or third person singular is a class 1 suffix. This ending is incorporated into the morphological structure. The Yat-alternation rule in the first and second conjugation verbs apply after the addition of this suffix. The addition of the suffix affects the application of the Yat-alternation rules because the Yat-alternation rules have yet to apply. The suffix is incorporated into the structure and is considered as part of the context when the Yat rules apply. Thus, we have an A realization of the Yat vowel since the following ending she contains a front vowel. The analysis of the Yat-alternation rule was able to account for all cases of the Ya with palatalization, and A realizations of the Yat vowel by assimilating them to a more general case of Ya realization. The analysis also has an important consequence about the universal underlying treatment of soft sounds in Bulgarian as a sequence of a hard sound and the following ya sound. The final realization of the consonant sound as palatalized is the result of the application of the palatalization rule and the ya deletion rule. Thank you for your attention.